Welcome to the EpicLife Church podcast. For more information, please go to epiclifeonline.org.
People don't live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. Some of you may have met my father-in-law, Bob. Most of you probably haven't. He's a great man. He's got an incredible heart for God and for people. My in-laws have been missionaries. He's been a pastor, and now they're doing ministry to a broken-down neighborhood in inner-city Fort Wayne, Indiana. I know what you're thinking. Fort Wayne is an urban center. I thought it was cornfields. And I thought the same thing. But yeah, they do have an urban center. I asked him if he would be a guest for this week's Life Report, the official #1 podcast of EpicLife Church. By the way, Ben, Matt, I understand that there's a contest going on with the Life Report. The drawing is coming after church. Do you have a winner for the contest, or you're deciding it after? Decided after church. And just for these people who may not have had the pleasure of entering, what is the prize for said podcast? This is unbelievable. If you guys didn't listen to the podcast this week, you're really missing out. Go ahead. The show outline, yeah. Yes, a medium fry at McDonald's. Is it too late for these people to enter? Okay. All right. So I'm not sure if the podcast is more comedy or more content. I'm not sure. But it can be both. Comedy is somewhat subjective, though. About 12 years ago, getting back to Bob, 12 years ago, Carolyn and I were dating and not yet married, and God asked him to do a 40-day fast. Now, I don't want to step on his touchdown call here by giving away the details of what he talks about in the podcast, and I really want to encourage you to listen to it, because we asked him to be a special guest and talk about that experience, and that podcast is going to be released later this afternoon. But I want you to listen to it. But the bottom line was that God asked him to give away food for 40 days. He also talks about, on that podcast, what it's like to go without it for almost 6 weeks. Most of you can relate, maybe, to a little, because it's almost 10 o'clock now, and you're probably thinking, when's lunch? It probably doesn't help that we do, when I talk about fasting, it probably doesn't help that it looks like we do concessions at church. You know, you walk by the popcorn and the candy, and communion this morning was almost Diet Coke and popcorn, but it's not. But I want you to listen to the podcast this week, because it's really interesting and helpful to listen to somebody who was led by God to give up food for 40 days, and the impact on them physically and the impact on them spiritually, and their reflections of whether or not that would happen in their lives again. But getting back to Jesus fasting, I want to focus on the temptation that comes from the enemy and what Jesus' response was.
Thank you for listening to the EpicLife Church podcast. For more information, please go to epiclifeonline.org.